All right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. How y'all feeling? Good to see you all, YouTubers. Welcome. What's up, Andre? How you doing? All right, people kind of moseying into the stream. Rockfin, how you doing, Rockfin? Hello. How are you? All right, we're live on Callin as well, and let's get ready to rumble. All right, cool. Got some things to talk about. Hopefully they're interesting, some interesting things to talk about today. As we like to do every day. This is from Jordan Perry. He said, this is a pretty long thread on Twitter. We'll read it. We'll talk about it. He says, someone is lying. I've been 100% down with the environmental activism sickness for nearly 15 years now. Before that, I grew up in an aware family and community. So I've always been exposed to population, consumption, nuke, and fossil fuel concerns. I'm 54. That's a long damn time. I'm no stranger to doom-oriented thinking, and I've heard the projections for as long as I can recall. I'd like to say that every day in Times Square, a naked guy with a sandwich board reading "The end is near" is present. On the day it really ends, is he right or just lucky? At a point about 12 years ago, I became convinced beyond any reasonable doubt that the messaging and data I had been fed over my lifetime was correct, and that I had to bug out and prepare to live differently. There was no righting the ship, so fiddling with the railing was dumb. And since that point, while carefully building my zombie-proof food, water, and firewood complex, it became even more clear that there was no pathway for hominid survival past the collapse of civilization. This thread isn't about proving the reasons behind that conclusion. The point is that all along the pathway, I've been keeping track of the things those who influence me say. I have receipts because I don't take these decisions lightly. I don't feel like I jump to conclusions. It's just not me. It's my kids' lives as well. Better know for sure. At various points, as the goalposts moved and statements like 400 parts per million CO2 is game over for the climate faded from projection to rear view mirror, forgetting I fretted that the doomsayers were running the old scared straight strategy, a la clean your room or I'll kill you. Moderate people like Bill McKibben and Richard Heinberg wrote terrifying articles and books that gave the true horror authors like Derek Jensen a run for the money. But as their thresholds passed, they just altered the targets, wrote a new book, and moved on without making any effort to discuss how they justify moving the goalposts of doom. People like me, the bravehearts of the movement, out front with faces painted and swords aloft, then look like idiots, while the lords turn their horses around to shop for EVs and solar panels unconcerned. Meanwhile, the doomer slur is tossed about as if I invented the rhetoric, manifested the data, and made the bold predictions. Apologies to Paulie is here. This is where my civilization addict theory emerged. What these voices couldn't let go of was the comfort and convenience. Since I'm a rewilding guy, admittedly dependent on but opposed to civilization, I was always willing to run the ball right through the goal line and get busy letting go of industrial civilization. But that's the disconnect. The goal beyond the goalpost is what we're debating. They move the goalpost not because the targets change or the reality changes. They move the goalpost because the number one goal to rule all is to maintain global industrial civilization at all costs, which ironically makes the goal impossible to achieve. Still, the lying is so obvious to a person who has the receipts. There's never even a, well, I know I said this would be the end, and now I'm not just hedging that, but flatly ignoring I ever even issued that threat, but now I'm going to come clean. I wanted to scare you all into action and wasn't being honest. Or, well, I know I said that this would be the end, and now I'm giving you a new end target, but I just believe we need hope over data, and therefore will continue to act as if options that don't exist do exist, so that we can all just enjoy the holidays and have a good time. Yet here I sit, with receipts, with the sword in the air, with the sandwich board hung over or around my neck, staying firm and true. Why? Well, I'm not the kind of person who moves their heart and mind around after working for 50 years to know that I am B. F the machine. Okay. That was a good thread. A lot to unpack in there. Yeah, and eventually the guy with the end is nigh sandwich board is going to be correct, unfortunately. Unfortunately, there will be that day, and which I resist. I don't want that to be true, personally. But where are the goalposts even? If there are any goalposts at all. Are there any? I know most of you would probably posit no. Check out this link from Denver. Oh, what is that? Jesus. The guy get knocked out? That's funny. Okay. Do we even have any goalposts anymore? Are there worthwhile goals? Is the goal just to unhook from civilization? Is the goal to be a little less dependent on civilization? I mean, that's a goal. That's one goal. We live in a time of great confusion, unfortunately. And for a lot of people, the best way to deal with that is just to act like there's nothing wrong, right? And as I've said, I've really lost a lot of my ability to judge. Still summery on the East Coast, Bella Lugrisi. It's actually fantastic in Southern California. It's almost summery here. Feels like an early June day right about now. And I think it's probably going to get a little bit warmer. I guess if you're going to enjoy, a little bit of time, if the end is nigh, and you're going to enjoy some time, I mean, you certainly wouldn't want civilization to go away, right? Because then that's a bad time. That's not an enjoyable moment. Not Klimt. This is Romer Bearden. He's a earlier 20th century painter collagist. It's good stuff. Yeah, if you want to enjoy a couple of moments, Denver Attaway says the goal is to demand accountability for those that have wronged humanity under existing rule of law that has been entirely subverted. And I'm actually down with that. I mean, I am a forever righteous soldier, right? Um, and even if it doesn't matter, I want to see things change just because I want the bad people to be vanquished. And I don't care if it's, all for naught. I don't care if there's no point in it. I don't, the point is, we can quote Chris Hedges, I guess. The point is, wouldn't it be nice to see the bad guys vanquished before it all goes away? Or at least strike a couple of good glancing blows? I'm up for that. I was thinking today, man, in my mind, so I still run scenarios in my mind. So if we were gonna actually, what could we actually do to stop the madness that's happening right now? Stop a good portion of it. I was thinking about the main beast is the corporate multinational corporations. That's the big beast. You might disagree with me. The big beast is the multinational corporations. They gotta go. I don't know how we get rid of them. I don't know how people in general get rid of them. I mean, you do have boycott power. You do. You want to starve Amazon? Stop shopping at Amazon. You want to starve Target? Stop shopping at Target. You want to stop the military industrial complex? I don't know. It's hard. That one's a hard one. But first of all, stop joining the military. Stop sending your kids to the military. Stop and then just refuse to go fight for them. Those are a couple ideas. But if there was going to be any North-South says, I love how the environmentalists are flying to Egypt for a convention. Right. Can't they just Skype? Of course. Ain't nothing wrong with Skyping. If you were actually going to get into the government, get in there, muscle your way in there with your elbows out, pow, 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 busting people aside. If you're going to take a podium and speak to the people, I would say corporations are evil entities. They're destroying the planet for profit, and they're destroying our lives with the tentacles of control. They're destroying our media. They're destroying everything. So they gotta go. They gotta go first. I would say, like, I put all most multinational corporations on notice that they will be taxed out of existence, nationalized, dissolved, etc. I don't know. There's a good suggestion. Interglacial optimists. You stop supporting the military industrial complex by not paying taxes. There's that. It's another way. But we gotta stop feeding that corporate beast. I don't know how we do it, and not just not feeding it. We gotta slay it. And I don't even know. I don't even know. I'd start there. I probably wouldn't get very far because when you really start striking out at the beast, oh, they strike back. They strike back hard. They don't like it. Spooky action. Spooky action says the Fed feeds the beast. No stopping that one. Yeah. Anyways, these are just random ideas. Things to mull over, I guess. But I'm in agreement, Denver. I like accountability. I don't know. Revenge is not necessarily a great. Accountability is good. Better word for revenge, I guess. But seeing wrongs righted. Right. I'll take that as motivation, if anything, right? Uh, seeing wrongs righted. Down with that. Sama, how you doing? All right, let's but that was a great thread by Jordan. Um I mean, it's just we live in a toilet bowl of corruption. The entire planet is just a toilet bowl of corruption. And how do we flush it? Poppy Davis, most of Nigeria's oil wealth siphoned off by the 1% of the population, the World Bank. Most of Nigeria's oil wealth siphoned off by 1% of the population. The Nigerian government has total control over property rights, and they have the authority to seize any property for use by the oil companies. There are no commons. We own the commons. We own the commons. How are you going to take back the commons? As millions of Nigerians suffer through the worst byproduct of climate change they have endured since 2012, savage floods that are submerging hundreds of villages, towns, and farms nationwide, it is clear that the government cannot efficiently cope with the immediate challenges it faces. 27 out of Nigeria's 36 states have been hit. And meteorological agencies warn that states like Anambra, Delta, Cross River, Rivers, and Bayelsa may experience floods till the end of November. According to the Humanitarian Affairs Minister Saidia Farouk, by October 16th, 2.5 million persons had been affected. 603 dead, 2,407 injured, and over 1 million displaced. Anyways, there's a failure to prepare for disasters. Dr. Francis Atumuno, a civil servant who is managing one of the palliative delivery programs in Bayelsa State, says progress is definitely being made, but some of the areas that need help most can only be reached by boat, and there's no fuel for boats because the east-west road that links Bayelsa to the outside world is in pieces, and fuel tankers cannot currently get here. Climate change is the main culprit, but not the only cause of the flooding. Last month, the authorities in neighboring Cameroon released excess water from the Lagdo Dam, despite having agreed in the 1980s to control overflows by building a corresponding dam in Adamawa State. Nigeria still hasn't done so. 40 years later. Critics bemoan successive governments' failure to prepare for disasters. And as Nation newspaper columnist Prince Charles Dixon says, generally speaking, we have no national frameworks, policies, plans, guidelines, or risk assessments. Neither do we have well-stocked warehouses for emergencies or revised building codes, etc. Anyways, where did all that oil money go? Poof. It's gone. It's at Deutsche Bank. It's at JP Morgan. Right? It's at HSBC. That's where all that oil money went. But oil is actually, Nigeria is wholly dependent on the oil industry, right? I think that's like their main or one of their main sources of income. And they have a lot of oil. And corruption runs the day, right? Corruption runs the day. They're not doing anything to help, help the people out, plan for disasters, none of the above. It's going to be fend for yourself as it falls apart. Let's keep going. Oh, let me check the coffees real quick. Do we have any coffees yet today? We do not. We will check the Rockfins for the tips. We do not have any tips yet on Rockfin. We are live on call-in. If you want to call in, got a couple minutes. Open a window open for a few minutes if y'all want to call in. Otherwise, let's move on to this from Poppy. The denier replies on this tweet are unfathomable. Nonetheless, the idea that world leaders will quickly take the necessary actions to avoid the worst effects of climate change is hopium. There's a war on, always a war on. We'll look at this from Peter Carter. Updated scientists warning climate emergency, climate catastrophe closer. This is... They keep churning out, the tweets and the articles and the reports and the... Right? They keep on churning out, this is it, guys. We're in a bad place. We got to do something now or else it's going to be all over. I don't know. I didn't actually look at the climate denier tweets up here. Somebody says updated climate scam, you mean? Yeah. Why don't they debate it? I don't know. They've been kind of debating it for a long time. So somebody says stop opposing nuclear power. Somebody says send more money. I mean, we're just, everyone's brains are scrambled. Yeah, there's some heavy denialism going in on these responses. And some of the typical, the well-worn denialist tropes are all in play. Look at this graph. Can you explain this? Your models aren't correct. Blah, blah, blah. The same tired, cherry-picked graph from the Danish Meteorological Institute I got from Tony Heller. Blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of like, the world is on the brink. It's almost over, guys. We got to do something now. That's almost blah, blah. That's the same level of blah, blah, blah. Okay. You think we're ever going to get there? Are we ever going to get to... We're doing something now. Let me know. Let me know when they're at the we're doing something now stage. Let's see. Denver says, thanks for the info, Denver. Before the pandemic, Nigeria's oil sector generally accounted for about 9% of the country's gross domestic product. By a quarter, Q4 of 2020, it declined to less than 6%, but I would think they are being underpaid and ripped off, so the GDP by volume should be twice that amount. I mean, they're high on the list of... oil is big business in Nigeria, right? All the oil companies are there, right? They're known as an oil-rich state. Thanks for the info, Denver. I appreciate it. But yeah, guys, better get something going pretty soon. Or else, I don't know. Or else. Clean your room or I'll kill you. That's what that's a good quote. Interglacial Optimist says if you only had a couple of months left, you probably should spend some time enjoying some great beer. That's cool. If you like beer, enjoy some beer. Scott Andrews says my right-wing cousins keep telling me that there's only a few weeks of diesel fuel left. I don't know. There was a big Tucker Carlson segment on there. Has anybody heard about that? I was thinking about playing that here on the show just for everybody's edification, but let's see. I'm not saying that Tucker Carlson is, totally factual about everything he says, but if it makes it all the way onto like Fox News primetime, I imagine there might be some factual data behind that. But I'm not putting myself out there and saying it's actual factual. Let's see. I'm looking this up. Diesel is quite expensive, right? This is from oilprice.com. Oilprice.com. And here's something from Economic Times. Okay, so you want to give these guys a little more credit? Diesel shortage across the U.S. Reports say only 25 days of supply left. This is from yesterday. Let's see. Hold on. Just kind of checking this out. Oops. Wrong one. Hold on. Oh, I see what's going on here. Sorry, guys. I'm not trying to read a blank browser page. Y'all see that now? It doesn't. I'm sure you guys are not reading this fine print on the screen. I mean, this is in the headline of the Economic Times, and I don't know what way they swing, but they're saying as of yesterday there's 25 days left. Let's get down into the article a little bit. Lack of oil investment is planting the seeds of a future energy disaster, according to OPEC Secretary General Hatham Al-Ghayas on Tuesday. Recent supply shortage has been made worse by a wave of refinery strikes in France and other unforeseen outages in Europe and the U.S. Similar to heating oil, which is often in higher demand during the winter, diesel used in road transport is also in high demand. According to U.S. official data on Monday, the country's oil production increased in August to its greatest level since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic as higher petroleum prices encouraged production. Where do they get to the part where they're saying that there's only 25 days left? Shabadoo. While stocks of diesel fuel used for heating in trucks remain at the lowest level ever for this time of year, gasoline inventories are at an 8-year seasonal low. As winter approaches, diesel inventories nationally are at their lowest seasonal level ever. And certain regions in the Northeast have started fuel rationing. So I don't know, Scott. I think that might be. I mean, if they're actually starting to ration fuel. In the next 6 months, price increases and shortages of U.S. diesel are likely to emerge unless and until the economy and fuel use slow down. You think that's going to happen? The U.S. Energy Information Administration on October 21st said that the stockpiles of diesel and other distillate fuel oils were just 106 million barrels, the lowest for this time of year since 1982. Distillate inventories were much lower than seasonal averages for the previous 10 years by a huge 26 million barrels. On the basis of the most recent information, available for monthly surveys, this is a long article. Stocks had already decreased to 113 million barrels, blah, blah. However, in terms of consumption, stockpiles were just 30 days worth of demand at the end of July. That's at the end of July. The lowest seasonal level in monthly records dating back to 1945. October stockpiles are thought to have reached a record seasonal low of only 25 days of supply. This is the lowest since 2008. In order to encourage providers to sell diesel and gasoline to the government, the Biden administration has already begun laying the basis for stockpiling greater emergency fuel stockpiles. So I guess they're trying to figure that out. Mansfield Energy is now requesting a 72-hour notice for deliveries in order to obtain fuel and freight, since conditions are rapidly devolving, according to a statement to clients. The fuel provider added that Tennessee is facing particularly significant issues. Fuel costs are running 30 to 80 cents higher than the market average in most constrained locations. So actually, I guess that's true. I guess that's true, Scott Andrews. Interglacial says after the election November 8th, they will stop the strategic oil reserve bloodletting and prices could go up. Yeah, that's likely. Yeah, because I mean, this is. You're right. That's actually true. Because this is an effort to not have it go completely off the rails before the election, right? So that is true news. That is true news. Well, that ain't good, right? Yeah. Osama says petroleum corps are effing us big time. Well, and then add to that the fact that OPEC is going to cut their production too. So where are they going to get that oil? I don't know. Nigeria? Venezuela? Come on, guys. Come on, man. We didn't really mean that. Oh, speaking of don't really mean that. Didn't really mean that. All right, guys. You know what? I'm going to jump off YouTube. We only have a couple minutes left in the show, but I want to cover some other things, so I'm going to jump off the YouTubers. And YouTubers, you can come to Rockfin and hang out for the rest of the show, or call in. We're going to cover a couple more things before I get out of here. So to you, I say peace, and I'll see you tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight.